Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and Buttercup. I'm filming. Hello, beautiful people of the internet. My name is Jackie and how are you doing today? Welcome back to my channel. And today, in this video, I am going to be discussing another Game of Thrones theory for the upcoming final season. This one being about who is the Valonqar. So in case you do not know, in the A Song of Ice and Fire book series, which inspired the TV show Game of Thrones, when Cersei went to visit the Woods Witch Maggie the Frog as a child, she received, in addition to the prophecies that we saw on the TV show, another prophecy foretelling how she would die at the hands of a Valonqar. And the prophecy went like this. And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you. Now, the word Valonqar comes from the language of High Valyrian, and it translates to little brother. So there has been much speculation about who is this Valonqar that is going to choke the life from Cersei and cause her death. Now, Cersei herself attributes this prophecy to Tyrion. She thinks that Tyrion is her Valonqar, which makes sense. He is her younger brother, and this contributes to her hatred towards Tyrion. There are quotes in the book series where she thinks about this prophecy in association with Tyrion. Here's just one example from A Feast for Crows. The Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your throat, the queen heard, but the voice did not belong to the old woman. The hands emerged from the mists of her dream and coiled around her neck, thick hands and strong. Above them floated his face, leering down at her with his mismatched eyes. No, the queen tried to cry out, but the dwarf's fingers dug deep into her neck, choking off her protests. So the addition of this Valonqar prophecy in the books adds this another layer to Cersei and Tyrion's tense relationship. Ever since Cersei received this prophecy from Maggie the Frog, she has been paranoid that one day Tyrion is going to kill her, adding to her hatred of him. However, because Cersei has gone her entire life thinking that Tyrion is the Valonqar, I think it's very likely that he is not, because that would just be too easy. It wouldn't make sense for the person who she thought it always was to actually be the Valonqar. It has to be someone that Cersei does not expect, that will have more interesting, ironic, and tragic connotations for the overall story. Now, there is one person who a majority of the fandom agrees would make a lot of sense as the Valonqar, and I agree with them. I think that of all the possible theories, this is the one that makes the most sense. And this is the theory that Cersei's Valonqar is actually Jaime. Even though Cersei and Jaime are twins, we know for a fact that Cersei is the older twin, meaning that Jaime is still her younger brother, though only by a few moments. In book 1, A Game of Thrones, she says this to Ned: Jaime and I are more than brother and sister. He came into this world holding my foot, our old maester said. In A Song of Ice and Fire, there are not one, not two, but 3 references to Cersei and Jaime dying together, which makes me think that Jaime will sacrifice himself in order to take out Cersei and once again save King's Landing, this time from a mad queen instead of a mad king. So, in A Storm of Swords, Jaime thinks this to himself: I cannot die while Cersei still lives, he told himself. We will die together as we were born together. Then in A Feast for Crows, about herself and Jaime, Cersei has this to say: we will leave this world together as we once came into it. And finally, in the epilogue for A Dance with Dragons, Cersei says this to her uncle Kevin: if he were dead, I would know it. We came into this world together, uncle. He would not go without me. There is also this really interesting visual from season 7 where they painted this map of the 7 kingdoms on the floor in the Red Keep, and you see Cersei and Jaime standing on this painted map. What's interesting about this image is that from above you can see Cersei is standing in a region of Westeros that is called the Neck. Meanwhile, Jaime is standing in an area known as the Fingers. So that conjures up the image of strangulation as the prophecy foretold. The only possible indication that Jaime may not be the one to kill Cersei is that the prophecy refers to the Valonqar as wrapping his hands around your pale white throat. Now, we all know that Jaime lost one of his hands, and so therefore, how can he strangle Cersei with his hands if he only still has one? Well, Jaime does have a golden hand now, even though it's not a regular old hand. It's still a hand, and I think he could put enough force on Cersei's throat to strangle her if he was determined and angry enough. I definitely think he is strong enough to choke her, even if one of his hands is golden. Overall, I just think Jaime being the Valonqar makes the most narrative sense. We have seen him drifting away from Cersei at the end of season 7. He left her to go north, and he made it very clear that they are done. He is tired of her, and he's not going to be loyal to her anymore. And in the books, he's been straying from her for an even longer time. At the end of A Feast for Crows, when Cersei is imprisoned by the Faith, she sends a letter to Jaime asking him to be her champion, and Jaime does not want to help Cersei and orders the letter to be burned. Therefore, their ties have been severed, and I think it just makes the most sense for Jaime, who was condemned as a kingslayer when he was really saving the city, to become a queenslayer in order to save the city. Perhaps Cersei will try to burn King's Landing with wildfire like the Mad King did, and he will die in this effort. However, this time, instead of being condemned, he will finally receive admiration for his brave sacrifice. Now, you probably thought that was the end of the video, didn't you? But it's not, because I have some alternate theories I want to discuss. Now, in the prophecy, Cersei is told the Valonqar will kill her. However, it never specifically says her Valonqar. So, could the Valonqar potentially be any male character in the show that has at least one older sibling? So, it has been proposed that it is actually Euron Greyjoy who will be the Valonqar and who will kill Cersei. Now, interestingly enough, in season 7, we did get a reminder from Euron that he has two good hands. Good for strangling Cersei to death, perhaps? We've seen before that Euron is so desperate for power, he is willing to commit murder. He murdered his own older brother, Balon Greyjoy, and even though Cersei has promised to marry him, if she does not follow through with her promise, I do not doubt that Euron would not hesitate to betray her. However, I don't really think that Euron is the Valonqar, because even though he does have an older brother and some murderous tendencies, I just don't think Euron strangling Cersei would pack a big emotional punch. There isn't a rich history between those characters like there are between Cersei and Tyrion or Cersei and Jaime, so I think as a viewer it wouldn't be as interesting. I also just can't imagine Euron, who is such a character in the show and was only introduced a couple seasons ago, living longer than Cersei or killing Cersei. I just don't think he's really that important in the overall story to take on such a major role. There was also this theory, I'm sorry I don't remember who originally came up with this idea, that Cersei, who was revealed to be pregnant in season 7, may carry her child to term only to die from labor complications giving birth to a child with dwarfism. This would be such an ironic twist considering how Cersei has always loved her children and always hated Tyrion for killing their mother in childbirth. So for Cersei's death to echo Joanna's death and Tyrion coming into the world would be a super interesting twist, especially if Cersei and Jaime both die. We could see Tyrion raise his nephew to have a better childhood than he himself did. However, I highly doubt this would actually happen because, possible spoilers here, but in the season 7 leaked outline, everything came true except for one scene which was supposed to show Cersei waking up in a bed of blood having miscarried. So I think it is very likely we'll see her miscarry very early on in season 8 and the child will never be born. But that would have been a really cool theory. The child would have fit the prophecy because he would have been the little brother to Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen. It was a really clever theory, and honestly, I think that would be a great twist, but I don't think it'll actually happen on the show, as cool of an idea as it is. Another thing is some people have wondered if the word Valonqar could possibly be gender neutral in High Valyrian. In season 7, we saw that the prince who was promised prophecy actually translates to the prince or princess who was promised, because it is actually a gender-neutral word. This has caused some speculation as to what if Valonqar is also gender-neutral, meaning that Cersei could be killed by a little brother or a little sister. Now, Cersei doesn't have any younger sisters. However, there are lots of female characters on the show who have at least one older sibling, including Sansa Stark and Arya Stark, who are Robb's younger sibling, or Daenerys Targaryen, who had Rhaegar and Viserys as her older brothers. So this opens up many more possibilities of who could be Cersei's future murderer. Finally, I want to address one more theory that has recently been increasing in popularity. I am not sure who originally came up with this idea because it's circulated around so much. I don't know who was the first person to think of this, but this is a theory that Jaime may die before the end of the series and that Arya will then kill Cersei while wearing Jaime's face. Now, this is a really interesting idea, and I think it could result in a really cool scene with Cersei thinking that she is being strangled by Jaime, only for, as Cersei lies dying on the ground, for Arya to take off the face and smile down at her, the last thing Cersei ever seen before she died being a Stark. Can you imagine if Arya's last words to Cersei were, "The Starks send their regards"? I think I just gave myself chills even with the thought of that. That would be such a cool final line. We also know that Cersei is on Arya's list, and I think it is safe to say that Arya is going to knock a few more names off before the end of the series. Arya wanted to go to King's Landing to kill Cersei last season. However, she decided to go back to Winterfell when she found out that her family had taken it back and that Jon was king in the north. So she prioritized reuniting with her family over killing Cersei, but after they all reunite, maybe she would want to try to kill Cersei again. However, I don't think Arya killing Cersei is as foreshadowed as some of our other possible Valonqars. Also, if it can't be Jaime who kills Cersei, I would much rather it be someone like Sansa or Tyrion, someone who has suffered directly because of Cersei. Arya and Cersei don't have much of a character background or a history together, compared to someone like Jaime or someone like Tyrion, who was hated by Cersei all his life, who made his life a living hell and never loved him as a brother, or someone like Sansa, who spent a very long time in King's Landing as a hostage, and her wolf lady, her wolf being an extension of her soul, basically, due to the connection that the Starks have with their wolves, being killed because of Cersei. So someone with a deeper history with Cersei, who has suffered a lot because of her killing her, would be much more satisfying to me as a viewer compared to someone like Arya, who Cersei doesn't have much of a relationship with, killing her. There's also the fact that even though the prophecy does not say specifically it is Cersei's little sibling who will kill her, if it is somebody else's little sibling, why would Maggie the Frog choose to use Valonqar as her descriptor in the prophecy? If, say, she was foreshadowing Arya killing Cersei, maybe she could have told Cersei that she will be killed by no one, or a she-wolf. If it's Euron who is meant to kill Cersei, then why didn't Maggie the Frog say that Cersei would be killed by a kraken, or a crow's eye, which is Euron's nickname in the novels? Why would she choose Valonqar to describe someone who isn't Cersei's little brother? So while it doesn't have to be her younger sibling, that just makes the most sense because better descriptors could be used for other people. Ultimately, I think Jaime just makes the most sense as the Valonqar. There is foreshadowing for him and Cersei dying together. We have seen the breakdown of their relationship, and I just think him killing her would be more satisfying than anybody else killing her. So while there are some cool alternatives, I think that this is what is likely going to happen. I think that Jaime makes the most sense in all respects, and I would think it would be really great to see him finally get revenge on Cersei for all the pain and difficulty she has caused him, and for him to take her out of the world, finally earning the respect he deserves in the process. So guys, that is it for this video. Let me know what your favorite Valonqar theory is down below. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more Game of Thrones videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye! Bye, and I hope to see you in the next one.